So for calculating the national income, we have to find NNP at FC. Similarly, one more term you have to remember, domestic income. That is NDP FC. Okay, I'll write it more clearly. NNP FC is national income and NDP FC is domestic income. Domestic means it is within the domestic territory. That is net national product at factor cost. And this is net national product at factor cost, means it is including the economic territory, all the units working abroad, right? So there are three methods of finding national income or calculating the national income. First method is the income method. Second is the expenditure method, and third method is value added method or output method, or may also be known as production method. Income method, expenditure method, and value added method or output method. Remember, all these methods can be used to calculate the national income of an economy and the value of national income, or you can say the answer of the national income will be same whether you are applying the income method, expenditure method or the value added method. But yes, their components, their mode of working would be different. And you have to remember that these names which have been given to them, income, expenditure, value added, they actually are telling you about the method. These are the important words. You will come to know what I am trying to say. First we will move on to income method, and remember our target is to calculate national income, that is NNP at FC. So first we will talk about the income method. See, as the name says, income. So it means that we have to calculate the national income of the economy based on the incomes generated in that economy. And remember, we consider only the factor incomes while calculating the national income. Transfer incomes are never included in the national income. Income, as I told you, that it can be generated only through the factors of production. It means land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. So under the income method, we have to study the income of the four factors of production, and when we add them, that will be the total national income. The income from labor, or all the income accruing to the labor, is considered under the subheading of COE. COE means compensation of employees. While the income from land, capital and entrepreneurship is considered under the subheading OS, that is operating surplus. Okay, and there is one more heading under this that we will talk about later, that is mixed income. First of all, you have to remember that COE will contain all the income generated through labor, means salary, bonus, wages or any other incentive which has been given to the employee. While operating surplus will include all the income generated through land, capital and entrepreneurship. Now the formula that we use under the income method is NDP FC is equal to COE plus OS plus MI, right? Now we will study these. It means that we will get the domestic income when we apply the formula COE plus OS plus MI, And remember, NDPFC is the domestic income. One more important thing that you have to be careful of is that whenever you use the income method, you will use only this formula. It means only NDPFC will be calculated first. After that, it can be converted into national income or any other aggregate using the three converters. So now we'll talk about in detail that what these COE, OS and MI mean. So first we'll talk about COE. As discussed, it is the compensation of employees or any income which is being generated or which is flowing from the employer to employee. Income of the labor from the employer to the employee. Right? It has certain components. The first and foremost is wages and salaries. Because any labor working for any firm or any employee working for any employer would first of all demand for wages and salaries. Second is any bonus given to the employee or incentives given to the employee. Then social security contributions by employers. Then we have any free uniform, free food, free medical facilities or any other thing given to the employee. Then we have retirement pension, okay, and there may be many more, like suppose they are giving the education of children for free, or any other thing. Now see, it is difficult to learn everything and it is not possible even to write everything because many employer may be giving the money or the, you can say, the compensation in various kinds. One could be your that you are actually come around TA, DA, travelling allowance, DNS allowance, sick leave allowance, medical leave allowance, any other allowance given to the employee by the employer. COE broadly will contain all the money which has been received by anyone by providing his labor. And in a question, in a numerical, either COE would be given to you directly, okay, and if it is given directly you are lucky enough. If it is not directly given, then anything out of these would be given to you. Remember, wages and salary, most important component. Then it could also be written as wages or salaries in kind. In kind means that not in form of cash, in some other form, like maybe in form of clothes, in form of say food or any other thing. Bonus incentives. Then this is another important thing that you will find. Social security contribution by employers, or it could be written as the contribution by employers to the social security schemes, or social security schemes contributed by the employers. It means that what money or what amount the employer is contributing for the employee in a social security scheme. Like for example, if you talk about the PF, Provident Fund, then if you are aware, you must be knowing that if an employee is contributing, or suppose from employee salary 1000 is being deducted for PF, then the organization also has to pay 1000. So that is a contribution to the social security scheme, or maybe some insurance or other thing. One more thing that you have to take care is that only when it is the contribution by employers, it will be added. If it is the contribution by employees, then it will not be added. It means it has already been added in the salary of the employee. Then these are the various factors which you have to add, or various elements of COE. So first target of whenever you are solving your question is to find the COE. And it is again simple to judge that if the money has been paid for providing the labor, it will from the employer to the employee, it will be part of COE. Then talking about the OS, operating surplus. It contains income from property and income from entrepreneurship. So it means OS contains two things, income from the property and income from entrepreneurship. Under income from property, first of all we have the rent, which is generated from the land. If you have given your land to a firm, then you can generate the land from rent from it. Second is interest. Interest is if you have given your money or your capital to a firm. Actually, your capital or your money is also your property. That's why it is under the head of income from property. Then third is royalty. Royalty is any income which you get on your creations. For example, a singer would get a royalty whenever the album containing his song is sold. Similarly, a book writer will get a royalty whenever a copy of the book is sold. So income from property is again divided into three parts: rent, interest and royalty. It means if you add rent, interest and royalty, you will get the income from property. Then income from entrepreneurship. You already know income from entrepreneurship is profit, or you can say that entrepreneur always takes the share of profit. Then profit is again divided into three parts. First is a dividend. Second is corporate tax. Third is corporate saving. Or corporate saving is also known as retained earning. Okay, the corporate saving can also be known as retained earning or undistributed profit. Okay, just understand the OS or operating surplus divided into two parts, that is income from property and income from entrepreneurship. Income from property contains rent, interest and royalty. That is income from land, income from capital and income from your creations. That is royalty. Then entrepreneurship income contains profit. Profit is divided into three parts: dividend, corporate tax and corporate saving. It means if you add these three, you will get the profit. And when you add profit and rent, interest and royalty, then you will get OS. Now see, in the numerical, sometimes OS may be given to you directly. So in that case, no need to worry. If rent is given, interest is given, nothing will be counted, because operating surplus already includes all these things. In some of the questions, maybe rent, interest, royalty is given and profit is given. So in that question, you will add rent, interest, royalty and profit and you will get your operating surplus. In some of the questions, even the profit can be broken. It means that rent, interest, royalty is given and dividend, corporate tax and corporate saving or retained earning or undistributed profit is given. So in that case, first you will add these three, you will get the profit. Then you will add rent, interest and royalty to the profit and then you will get your operating surplus. So it means the second target is to find the second determinant, that is the operating surplus, whenever we are using the income method. And you should take your time and understand the COE and OS, because these are the two important things which can be broken down and given to you. And third, mixed income, that is always given to you directly. See, third is the mixed income. It is the income of the self-employed. Self-employed means like a doctor working in a clinic, or a teacher teaching a tuition, or a lawyer working as doing some private practice. That is the income of the self-employed, because they cannot be categorized as labor, nor they can be introduced in any of the previous ones, that is COE or OS, because they are also not working for profit. You know that these are professions where they are doing their self-employment. So it means first you will find in any question you will find the COE, OS and MI, then you will add all the three, you will get your NDPFC, and after finding the NDPFC, that also is your domestic income, you can convert it into any other aggregate. For example, if I want to find national income, that is an NPFC, so domestic to national plus NFIA. Okay, this is an important method, and you should practice the numericals of this particular method, rather all the methods, because you can understand it better only when you solve it or only when you practice the numericals. Then the second method is the expenditure method. Again, just have a look at the word expenditure method. It means now we have to add all the expenditures of the economy. Remember this circular flow: household, firm, rest of the world and government. It means we'll add the expenditure of all the four sectors, then we'll get the national income through the expenditure method. Again, here also we will have to add three things, or we need to find three things. First is the total final consumption expenditure. Second is GDCF. And third is net export. See, again here I am making that four sector model, so we will quickly refer to it. See, the total final consumption expenditure, the final consumption means the expenditure done on the purchase of the final goods and services. So see, these two sectors, household and government, they are doing the final consumption in the economy. So it means first thing is the private or the household final consumption expenditure. Second is plus the public or the government final consumption expenditure. Again, these two would be given to you in the question. So first you will add the private or the household final consumption expenditure and the public or the government final consumption expenditure. When you add them, you will get the total final consumption expenditure in the economy. It means we have included the household sector and the government sector, right? Or you can say the first part of, or the first element of expenditure method tells us the sum of the expenditure done by the household and the government on final goods and services. Second, GDCF refers to the expenditure of the firms. Remember, the firm's expenditure is always in the form of investment. There is a difference between final consumption expenditure and investment expenditure. Final consumption expenditure is done with the purpose of satisfying a particular want or you are fulfilling your need, while investment expenditure is done with the motive of earning profit in the future. For example, if you buy a car for yourself, that is part of the household final consumption expenditure. But suppose a taxi operator buys a car for running it as a taxi, then it is part of investment expenditure and is done by the firm, because a taxi service provider is a firm and not a household. So the investment expenditure is done by the firms and it is better known as gross domestic capital formation. GDCF is known as gross domestic capital formation. Capital formation, as you know, it will be defined as the increase in the investment. Now see what happens, sometimes this GDCF may be given to you directly, then it is not a problem, but sometimes instead of GDCF maybe gross or GDFCF is given, that is gross domestic fixed capital formation. A word is added to it, that is gross domestic fixed capital formation. Fixed means that we are counting only the capital formation and not including the change in stock. So for converting GDFCF or gross domestic fixed capital formation into GDCF, we have to add change in stock. Then we get GDCF. Remember, this is what we are looking for, or which we require to add in the expenditure method. So GDFCF can be converted into GDCF by adding change in stock. Then second, it may be given to you NDCF, that is net domestic capital formation. Again we know how to convert net into gross, that is plus depreciation, it will become GDCF or gross domestic capital formation. Third is mix up of both, that is net domestic fixed capital formation. Means now fixed is also there and net is also there. So it means you add both. You add change in stock and you add depreciation, then it will be GDCF. So it means firm has also been included. Now last we will talk about the ROW. Once again you can look at, because this is the part where you might find some difficulty in this method. Otherwise under these two elements of the first heading are also given to you directly, last one is also given to you directly in most of the cases. This is here your logic needs to be tested, or you may require the knowledge of this particular thing in depth. One more important thing from here we can understand, that is depreciation is equal to GDCF minus NDCF. In some of the questions GDCF and NDCF might be given to you. So in that case you can calculate depreciation simply by subtracting NDCF from GDCF. Okay, then the third part is net export, that is the expenditure of the rest of the world, and it is equal to the value of export minus value of import. And remember, X is the second alphabet of export, and in economics X always resembles your export, and M is the second alphabet of import and it resembles the import. So the value of net export is export minus import. It might be in positive or might be in negative. Then one more before moving on, GDP MP is equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3. This is the formula which you will use in the expenditure method, where 1 means total final consumption expenditure, and I have told you how to calculate it, add the government final consumption and household final consumption. Second is GDCF 2, that again I have told you how it may be given to you and how you have to convert NDCF or GDFCF into GDCF. And third means the net export, that is export minus import. And now see, whenever you use expenditure method, you will always get GDP MP. That is another important thing that you have to be careful of. Income method you are using, you will always get NDPFC, then you can convert into some other aggregate, whatever is asked. While in case of expenditure method, you will always get GDP at MP. Now suppose the question was asking to calculate national income, that is NNP FC. So that will be done later on after finding the GDP MP. Like here, from gross to net minus debt, domestic to national plus NFIA, and MP to FC is minus NIT. This is how you will move about in any method. You have to remember what you will get as your output. Now one more thing that you might face under this method is sometimes what may happen, that NDCF is given to you. You are asked to find national income, but depreciation is not there, right? And there is no way of finding out the depreciation. In that case, what you will do, At the second place, instead of GDCF, you take NDCF. It means you have taken net domestic capital formation in place of gross domestic capital formation. It will lead to one change. Some of you might have understood that change. It will give me NDP as output, because I have already subtracted the depreciation, or depreciation has not been included. So now, I have been asked to calculate national income, that is NNP FC. So again, for converting it, again I will not require any depreciation, because already both the aggregates are at net. So you can use this logic also, or it might be compulsory to use in some of the questions where, but remember, where depreciation is not given and it is not possible to find it. Otherwise you will follow the traditional method, the first one. So रोक दे भाई. After understanding the two methods, we have to study the third method of measuring the national income, that is the value-added method, or also known as the product method or output method. Under this method, we again get the GDP MP as output, but before understanding the concept of the method, we have to understand a simple thing. Just take an example. There are some wooden planks lying at your home, and maybe their value is rupees 400. You call a carpenter and make a pair of table and chair out of it. Maybe the monetary value is now 700 rupees. Okay, it is simple to understand. Obviously the value of chair and table will be more than the value of the wooden planks. So the difference between these two is the value added. Means how much value you have increased of a particular commodity. It may be possible not only by production but also by changing the place of the commodity, like a retailer buying a commodity for, say, this marker for say 20 rupees and selling it for 22 rupees. That is also value added. Means you have increased the price of the commodity. This is known as the intermediate cost, or it is the cost of raw material, or the purchase of raw material. This is known as the value of output. Okay, so value of output is the value of the commodity which you have produced. Intermediate cost or intermediate consumption, or the cost of raw material, is the cost of the materials used for that commodity, for producing that particular commodity. And value added is the value of output minus the value of intermediate cost or intermediate consumption. So simply we can understand that value added of a commodity can be calculated by subtracting the value from the value of output, subtracting the intermediate cost or intermediate consumption, and this is the formula for this particular method, and it is equal to the GDP MP. Means it is the gross value added at market price. Now we will do these formulas in detail and how to use them. Like I told you that first of all, the first formula is GVA MP. It is gross value added at market price, or it is equivalent to GDP MP, or it is another name for GDP MP, is equal to the value of output minus the value of intermediate cost or intermediate consumption, or the value of the raw material. Then you know that this GDP MP can be converted into national income. Then second, if the value of output is not given to you, then value of output is equal to sales plus change in stock, and change in stock is equal to closing stock minus opening stock. Then if sales is not given to you, then sales is equal to price into quantity. Suppose the marker is being sold for 20 rupees and you sell 10 units of the marker, so sales is 200. Sales and plus the change in stock of the economy will give you value of output and value of output minus intermediate cost will give you GVA MP or GDP MP. Then you can convert it into national income or whatever aggregate has been asked for. So you have to remember these formulas. These are the important formulas of this question, particular method. And sometimes there may be a question where you are asked to find this value of output, or you are asked to find this value of intermediate cost. In that type of question, so if the value of output or intermediate cost is to be calculated, then see, this would be given to you, right? But sometimes maybe say NVFC is given, then first you will convert this into GVA MP, because the formula is only for GVA MP, not for NVFC or NVMP or any other aggregate. So for finding the value of output or intermediate cost, first we need the GVA MP. Either it would be given to you directly, or you have to find it, or you have to calculate it by converting the some other aggregate which has been given to you. So these are two type of questions which can be asked from this particular method. And for better understanding of the methods, you have to solve each and every question which is there in the book. All the numericals you have to solve. Now after understanding the concept of national income and its calculation, its methods, now we have to move on to another important aggregate of the national incomes, that is private income. Now private income is slightly different from the national income, because in the private income we are including the transfer income as well. Like if you look at the definition of private income, it is the income accruing to the private sector from all sources. All sources here means the factor incomes, as well as the transfer incomes. While calculating the national income, or while speaking about the national income, we talk only about the factor incomes. So you have to remember this, that before the coming of private income, transfer income is not to be included in any of the aggregates. Mean national income aggregate will never include any transfer income, and transfer incomes are included only after the private income. After private income, we will have the other related incomes which are the aggregates of private income. But first the definition should be clear and the meaning should be clear. And remember one important word, that is the private sector. Okay, you already know that the government is that the economy is basically having two sectors, public sector and private sector. Public is the government sector and private sector is the household sector or the firm sector. That we will understand just now. For understanding the concept better, just remember the four sectors of the economy: household, firm, government and rest of the world. So when we are talking about the private income, we are actually excluding the rest of the world, because we are talking only about the private sector of our own economy. So this is not included. Then public sector is also, government sector is also removed. It means it is the income of these two sectors, that is the household and the firm, from any possible source. Even if they are getting income from ROW, that will be counted. Or if they are getting income from the government, that will also be counted. So now calculation of private income is based on the national income or the domestic income, that is NDPFC. This is, you know that this is the domestic income of the economy. Now just see, there are two sectors in the economy which have earned this domestic income. One is the government or the public sector, and second is the private sector. And we have already done that private sector is including the firm and the household. Now and one more important thing that is to be kept in mind is that it is including only the factor incomes. Government's income is classified into two categories. One is the saving of non-departmental undertakings, and second is the income from property and entrepreneurship accruing to the government. Okay, it means this first is the saving of the non-departmental undertakings, that is those undertakings which do not have a separate department in the parliament and are under the government, like the state corporation of a particular state. Transport corporation of a particular state is always a departmental, non-departmental undertaking. Then income from property and entrepreneurship accruing to the government, like the government properties are there, government guest houses are there, government grounds are there where you can organize a certain event but government will charge certain rent from you. That is the income from property. And entrepreneurship, the government is working as an entrepreneur, like for example in the railways, BSNL, BHEL, these are the organizations or the businesses where the government is operating. So if we add these two incomes, then we get the total income accruing to the government from the NDPFC, or it means the part of the NDPFC which the government has earned. Now suppose I name this as A. Remember, capital A is the total income earned by the government. Now just see if from the domestic income I subtract A. It means from the total income of the economy I have subtracted the income of the government sector. So what would I get? I would get the income from NDPFC accruing to the private sector. Okay, this is say capital B. So this I have calculated the total factor income which has been earned by the private sector. Now just understand that behind all this logic, behind all this explanation, the basic idea is to find the income accruing to the income from the NDP accruing to the private sector. In some of the question this may be given to you directly. It means B is already given. So you have to start the question from here. We will discuss how to move forward in the question. Sometimes A may be given to you. That is the income accruing to the government. It would be written that the income from NDP accruing to the government sector. So in that case, these two things need not to be calculated or need not to be bothered about. Simply you have to subtract A from NDPFC and you will get your B. And in some of the questions, this may not be given to you and these two things may be given to you. Right? So in that case, first you will add them, find A, then NDPFC minus A will be B. After B, it means now we have got the total factor incomes which have been earned by the private sector. Now we add to it NDI, that is National Debt Interest. NDI is National Debt Interest. It is defined as the interest paid by the government on the public deposits. The money which the public is depositing in with the government in form of treasury bills or in a form of any government bond, the interest which government pays to the public on that deposit is known as national debt interest. So again it is also a source of income for the private sector. Then plus NFIA, that is net factor income earned from abroad, because the dealings, the profit dealings are being done only by the private sector. Government doesn't do any profit dealing with the foreign countries. Then we add the net current transfers from rest of the world or from abroad or from the external sector. Like a country may give money to for certain things in the some other country, like the World Health Organization also gives certain amount of money for the vaccines to be distributed in India and used in India. Similarly, the Indian government paid some money for the relief of the earthquake victims in Nepal. So these are the transfer payments which can be received by the private sector from rest of the world. And there is a motive behind writing this word net here. Net means that the current transfer can be from ROW and to ROW. It means my country may have given transfers to the rest of the world. So in that case, net will be found out by subtracting the current transfers to abroad from the current transfers from abroad. Like same like NFIA. Current transfers from abroad minus current transfer to abroad, and I'll get the net current transfers from abroad or ROW. And next is current transfers by government. Here no need to put the word net because government doesn't take any current transfer from the private sector. It will only give the current transfer or transfer payments to the private sector. So it means after finding out the income from NDP accruing to the private sector, I have to add 4 things to it, then I will get my private income. That is NDI, first national debt interest, second is NFIA, third is net current transfers from abroad, and fourth is current transfer from the government. Add all these 5 things and you will get your private income. So if you have to write the formula for private income, it can be written as income from NDPFC accruing to the private sector plus NDI plus NFIA plus net current transfer from abroad plus current transfer from government. Or it can also be written as NDPFC minus the income accruing to the government plus NDI plus NFIA plus net current transfer and plus net current transfer from the government. So you can frame a formula for it, but actually this is the correct way how you have to go for the numericals. This is the logic which you have to apply. You have to go through the chart very carefully and then only you can understand it. Otherwise, if you simply mug up the formula, it will be impossible to solve the numericals. Okay, so now after the private income, the next aggregate is personal income. Again, personal income, first we have to understand the definition of personal income. First understand the meaning of this term personal. Personal refers to the people or the public or the household sector. Technically calling it is the household sector. It means the citizens of the economy. It is defined as the income accruing to the household sector